All right, Anthony, why don't you start with the Greenwood roof update and invoices?
Okay. Do you want to do minutes from last month approval after this, or do you want to do that first and then do the update?
I don't have the minutes in front of me.
Gotcha.
I have the minutes. I move that
Do
we
you?
approve the minutes of, Anthony, help me with the date. I just was looking for them.
October 15th.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 15th as written.
Is there a second? Anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, is there any opposition from the voting members? Seeing none, it's unanimous.
All right. So you want construction update for Greenwood?
Yes.
Okay. Again, kind of break down with the two different aspects, the handicap upgrades and then the roof itself. So handicap wise, the ramp itself is done. The bathroom itself is now done as well. The flushing issue was resolved. Essentially, they replaced it with a manual flush lever. So now it's flushing perfectly. And then roofing wise, they were up there the past 2 days doing the overlayment of the dirty areas and the gravity vents. So the gravity vents are all installed. The areas that we discussed being overlaid are all been overlaid. So Greenwood at this point is working on punch list items, which I believe they probably are ready for Gail to inspect. And once the punch list itself is inspected and signed off, the construction is.
Any questions regarding the update? I know that Phil, you had asked for a budget, and I think that went around hopefully to everybody. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none. The invoices on the Greenwood roof?
So we have PMA, right?
Yes.
We
For
have
Greenwood,
Greenwood Associates, right?
correct. Greenwood Industries.
Industries.
Yep.
And do we have one for Gail?
I didn't see one. Is there one, Anthony?
We don't have one for Gail. We could talk about the, I'm going to call it the sprinkler consultant for the town. So that one, I don't know if you'd seen that email change over with Linko. It was been back in the summer while Greenwood was up there with their plumbing sub. Someone must have kicked the sprinkler pipe up there, started causing it to leak. So they had to essentially stop the system, and then Linko had to go up there and replace some fittings and some pipe up there. They haven't been paid for it yet, so I had just sent it to Greenwood to back charge the plumber for the damage. I haven't heard back from Greenwood yet, but
All right, why don't we hold off then?
okay.
Yeah, I mean, aren't we, when are we ready for that whole, are we almost ready for the whole Greenwood play to straighten everything out for?
Now, yeah. Now that the vents are on, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I would say add this to our list.
Okay. The only aspect which I've been talking with Bob Shirley is Linko's kind of waiting for the money since August. So the other avenue we could go down with Linko specifically is essentially fund it from contingency and hold retainage from Greenwood. That way,
I would not do that. Okay.
How much are we talking about?
It's just under $2,000. I think it's $1,940. I think it's not.
Joe, this is Kevin. That's okay. He was a town vendor and we didn't want to spoil that relationship and wanted to come up with an alternate means, but if we can wait, that'd be fine.
I've run into
If Bob's upset about the relationship, then he can fund it.
That's fine.
And then
That's
take
fine.
it
We just
back
wanted to
from
lay
the
out an
project.
alternate for you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I
an
mean,
option.
he's
guys.
concerned, he can pay for it through his funds.
Very good.
And then, but I think we should put that on, Kevin, with all your stuff to kind of wrap it all up.
I agree. Okay, that's fine direction. We'll just let Bob know too.
Yeah, so,
Yeah,
so I'm on the call right now. Anthony, I think we talked and discussed kind of how everything plays out. So,
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Sorry, Bob, I didn't see you down there.
no, it's all good.
All right. All right. So yeah, then Chip, back to you. It's just PMA and Greenwood, no Gale this time.
And I'm looking for the Greenwood because it's on my phone, but what's the number for Greenwood?
88,585.13.
That is correct.
And you guys have vetted that and are okay with it?
Yep. So it went through a round of review comments. The architect signed off on it. It's good.
Okay. I move that we approve PMA's invoice for the sum of $3,550.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Chip,
Yes.
Tom?
Yep. Sorry.
Jerry,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
any other voting members come on? Guess not. And I say yes, so that is approved unanimously. Chip,
I move that we approve the Greenwood Industries invoice for the sum of $88,585.13.
second? Anyone?
I second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
So,
Seeing
so
no
I have,
Yep,
just,
go
I
ahead,
have one
Jerry.
comment. What are we holding on them for the balance of all this other stuff that we're gonna try to settle?
37,150.
Yeah, are you talking retainage, Jerry?
Well, just whatever is gonna cover this whole discussion that we're talking about with the vents and
It's
all
gonna
these other
be,
back charges and everything.
it's gonna be a combination of back charges, liquidated damage calculations from PMA, et cetera, that type of avenue. So we're gonna, but
Yeah, I'm just verifying that we have basically enough to cover all that, that's all.
yes, yeah, we do. And certainly within the budget itself, of course.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Tom?
Nope, all set.
All right. All right. All in favor? Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Janine?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
What are you doing? Come on.
All right.
I think we probably should move to just hold the Linko so that we address it. Right, because it's been submitted.
Right.
So I move that we hold Linko and have PMA discuss it with Greenwood along with the other issues.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Janine?
Yes.
And I see John.
Yep, I'm on. I've been on listening. I say yes
Oh,
to this.
sorry.
Yep.
It didn't appear on my participant list.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. I'm back on though.
All right. All right, and I'm in favor of that too, so that was unanimous. All right, is that it? That's it for Greenwood Roof?
That's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Anthony.
Awesome.
Joe will be in touch with Greenwood tomorrow to pick up the
Thank
pieces.
you. All right,
Hey,
Just
can I
let
just
us
say
know.
hello to, is that Janet from HKT over there?
It is.
yes.
Last time I saw Janet was in the airport in Switzerland, I believe.
It was. It was a nice visit, Kevin. Take care.
Oh,
Good
geez.
seeing you.
Oh,
That-
sorry.
That's not on the agenda.
Sorry, we weren't all in Switzerland too.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta tell us to go there
Oh,
or
what
what?
what a little dropping that was.
Yeah, really.
I'm gonna
Any
let
other-
Janet pick up the pieces. We work together out in Weston. She does a great job. You're in great
All right.
hands.
I
Thank
mean,
you, everybody.
any other dropping you want to make here, Kevin?
No.
All right, you can sign off now. Before we start with HKT, Joe Conway, I saw you on here. Joe, are you on? I saw him earlier.
Joe.
Joe,
There he
you
is.
are. Okay, Joe, what's the status of the RF, the request for services for the DPW garage?
So after I got your comment back, that was submitted. That should be appearing in the central register, I believe, next week. We'll advertise and start waiting for proposals to come in.
Do we know when?
What are
those-
the dates on that, Joe?
What are the
What are the dates that we ended up with?
It's with my business manager. If you don't mind, can I follow up with you with an email and get
Yeah.
those to you?
Yeah, and I'll send it around. No problem.
And the subcommittee's first meeting will be Thursday of next week.
Okay,
And that will be zoomed, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Any
I've
questions?
touched base with them all. I was trying to figure out what everybody's schedules looked like and what time of day they preferred. So it'd probably be 6, 7 o'clock.
All right, any questions regarding the DPW request for services?
Joe, have we put a working group together for that yet? Or are we just all, whoever wants to jump on, jump on?
I think we haven't put it together yet, and I think we'll do that once we get closer to the dates.
Well, I'm just wondering if they've got their first subcommittee meeting. Should you and I just,
Chip, what I was
Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, what I was gonna do at the first meeting is, obviously Rick is part of that group. So what I was gonna do is, it would be pretty brief, but I just wanted to kind of have him give a historical perspective of what he's been doing to get to this point and some of the things he was trying to accomplish when he was at the helm here.
yeah,
And then from there, we've discussed some of the parts of the RFP with the group and how we're going to break out some of the tasks and different things that we want to look at. We could get a head start on things while we're waiting for the proposals to come in. So it'd be brief, more of kind of like an introductory icebreaker type thing, and then we'll really start hammering into the details as we move forward.
Well, why don't you send me the link, and we'll make sure every member of the committee has that link if they wish to, and they can
Okay.
join in on that meeting. Okay.
Will do.
All right. Any other questions on the DPW? Seeing or hearing none. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, buddy.
You're welcome.
The last quick thing is Saturday at the ungodly hour of 8 a.m. There is town meeting at the field house. And we will be proposing, we remember a couple meetings ago, we had to do a motion, but we left the dollar amount blank. That dollar amount has been filled in, and it is $2 million for the feasibility study for the high school. We were able to get that from information I got from the OPMs, using various other Winchester, Billerica, Sharon, and other communities. That seemed to be the figure that everybody was using. So that's going to be the figure that we're going to be using. Any questions on the high school Saturday, 8 a.m. Please bring coffee meeting?
I think you're number 3.
Article number 3.
How much was
correct.
how much was the feasibility study done in 15 or 16? Whenever the last one was in the high school. Was that a true feasibility study, or was that
No, not what the MSBA requires, not even close.
Right, but what that was, Phil, is Doran Whittier came in and did an assessment, and we used that information to plead our case, if you will, on why we needed to be selected. So that they know that a feasibility study was done, and then they're like, okay, thanks, now you're going to do ours.
Got it.
You almost have to have feasibility studies in advance of applying for the MSBA pipeline these days.
Yeah. Phil, this, according to the MSBA, this feasibility study will take between 20 and 24 months. That's what it said.
Yeah, let's hope we push that a little quicker.
Oh, okay, 19.
Yeah, well, that would be helpful. I mean, half a year's half a year.
All right. Any other questions regarding the high school thing? All right, what we plan to do now is HKT architects are going to create a little presentation of sort of a background for the public safety building for some of the newer members. And then there can be any questions that you may have on this Zoom meeting, as well as Chief, I think it appears the advisory committee is on as well. Is that correct?
Hi, Joe.
Hey,
We have myself, Deputy Chief Calabrese,
Sergeant Donato, Sergeant McCall, Officer Rando, Officer Pelletier, and we have Chief Sullivan and Deputy Chief Purcell from the fire. So the majority of the advisory committee is on tonight.
Great, super. And do not be afraid or to ask any questions you have whatsoever during, after this. The only question is going to be is whether I'm going to be able to create a co-host here and not mess this up, which could be 50-50, folks. Janet,
Yes.
who is the co-host?
Amy is going to run the, we have a PowerPoint to show you to do a summary, and Amy's going to run it. So if you make her
I'm making her a co-host now.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully.
Let me see if I can get it to work here.
Us lawyers don't do this tech stuff good. Yep, there we go.
You're good.
Hey,
You're
great.
great. All right, Janet,
Okay.
Amy, whoever,
Okay.
it's
So
your.
I just want to introduce HKT again. I know some of the members of the committee, certainly a lot of the advisory committee, but other members as well. We worked on the study, the most recent study for the public safety facility, and we call it the Renovations and Additions. I am a principal at HKT Architects, and I remain the principal for this project. With me is Amy Dunlap. She's also principal at HKT Architects, and she is going to manage the project with me on as we move forward. If there's a question about who do we talk to when we have a question, the first person will be me, and then Amy will know as much about the project as I do more, and she'll be the backup if there's day-to-day questions. Will be a team of people working with us on it. So Amy's gonna take the first part. I'll take the second part of the presentation. So, all right, Amy.
Okay. So thank you for inviting us here. As Janet said, my name's Amy Dunlap. I'm a principal with HKT. Janet and I have been working together for just over 20 years now. We have worked on lots of different public safety projects together. Most of the public safety projects that we do in our firm, Janet and I work closely together on them. HKT itself has been around for over 45 years working on public and municipal projects throughout Massachusetts. We do lots of different types of work. We do public safety buildings, we do DPWs, we've done some town hall renovations, we also do some higher education work. We put a team together. You can see the team here. I'm not going to go through everyone's names, but these are the folks who worked on the feasibility study with us. And we did reach out to them when we heard from you to make sure that everyone was available. We've heard back from most of them that they would be available to start working on the project right away. There are a couple of people we haven't heard from yet, but we don't really envision any problems. We think they're all available and ready to go. We pick them because they share the same type of work ethic that we do. They're committed to creating enduring public architecture and really creating a building that will meet your needs and be a source of pride for the community in the future. We do lots of different types of public safety buildings, and you can see these are just a few of the examples of some of the buildings that we've done over the years. None of them look alike. We really believe in making buildings that fit your community, that meet your goals, that fit comfortably in the environment that they're in. We don't believe in cookie cutter architecture. Every project is unique. Every project is designed to address your needs. These are a few examples. If you're interested in visiting any of them, you're more than welcome. You see, let me see if I can get my pointer here working. There we go. This is a police station up in Salisbury. This is a public safety building in Rye, New Hampshire. This is a public safety building in Holbrook. This is a police station for the city of Boston in Charlestown. That's actually the on-ramp to the Tobin Bridge in the background that goes over the back portion of the site. And then this is in Chelmsford, a fire department that was added on to the existing town offices building. And so we worked hard to make sure that that fit in with the aesthetics of the existing town offices building. We also do a lot of work with renovations and additions. we picked a couple projects here that we just wanted to show to you because of their complexity and because of their similarities to your project. Up here, this is actually an addition that we did for the Codman Square Health Center. The Codman Square Health Center, it's actually a unique partnership. They also work with the Codman Academy, which is a public charter school. And the Codman Academy rents space on the lower level of the health center, and they work together to make sure that the students have access to the staff of the health center and really are mentored and learn about careers in healthcare. This was a project where we did a large scale addition and renovation to the health center. And at the same time, the health center and the school needed to remain fully operational during the renovation. So we worked with a construction manager to really target almost surgical renovation bits. We would quickly renovate office spaces or conference rooms to make them into temporary exam rooms so that they could continue seeing patients all through construction. And we would work with the CM and with the healthcare staff to make sure that all the timing worked perfectly so that none of their patient care was interrupted. And the school also, we worked to make sure that all of their classes remained in the building. All of the work was done over summer vacation and over winter vacation so that they could continue educating the students. And then this below is a large scale renovation we did for the Holyoke Community College. This is their campus center. This building is a cast in place concrete brutalist structure that was built in the 1980s. When it first opened, it almost immediately suffered from leaking roofs. All of these sloped roofs are actually concrete, and they didn't have continuous waterproofing membranes. After years and years and years of suffering through this, they moved forward with a large renovation. And what we did was actually recapture space, thinking creatively about how we could solve their waterproofing needs, as well as recapture some space that they needed. We took all of these exterior balconies and enclosed them. And you can see here, this is a renovation where we enclosed the balcony, created this nice space here with all this glass wall to create a dining space for the campus center and solve all of their waterproofing problems at the same time. We've also done a lot of work for the City of Cambridge. We have a house doctor contract for the City of Cambridge and do a lot of projects for them. These are a couple of different fire station projects that we've done for them. The Taylor Square Fire Station started out as a roof project. We were just going to replace the roof, and it turned into a $7 million renovation where we replaced windows, we put in a geothermal system, we resolved some interior space issues they had with an existing stair, put solar panels on the roof, did some envelope repairs and all. And this is Lafayette Fire Station, where we did a number of systems upgrades. They had issues with their floor drains and with HVAC systems, plumbing systems, and we helped them through all of that. We also have a lot of experience doing sort of sensitive additions to existing buildings. This is a before and an after picture of a campus center that we did out at Holy Cross. And you can see before this entrance here, there were these stairs that were always a maintenance issue in cold, snowy winters and all. We actually enclosed that space to create a glassy lobby space, and really the architecture was very sympathetic to the existing architecture. It felt like it always belonged with the building. It was a very sensitive addition. Similarly, this is at MIT. We put this addition on the upper floor here to capture space for them, but again, tried to be really sympathetic to the existing architecture and work with the existing window patterns and materials. We have a lot of experience dealing with technical issues, whether it's dealing with HVAC systems or envelope repairs. This here is an example of a DPW project we worked with there. The garage was actually a suspended slab over their maintenance bays, and the floor slab was failing. And so we worked through a very challenging technical solution of how to repair that floor slab and make it stable again and able to carry vehicles. But public safety buildings are what a lot of our work is these days. We have projects right now. We have a project that's in construction in Tewksbury. It's a fire station. We have a project in Ashland, Mass. That's a public safety building that's just going out to bid. We have a couple of public safety buildings that have just finished their feasibility studies, and communities are going to be going for funding in the spring. It's a lot of what we do and what Janet and I do together. So we know the different specialized spaces that go into them. We know how to make them successful and really meet your needs. We listen to what you're looking for, and we make sure that we respond to it. I know that you've had some issues with your entry sequence and how the public interacts with the meters and greeters in the station. So this is an example of what a modern day station should look like. You should have a window where the public can come up to, and where the meters and greeters can meet their needs and talk to them. And yet all of your dispatch equipment is concealed behind that with all these large screens that no one in the public can see. And there are lots of other people spaces that go into these public safety buildings, and we believe it's really important to make sure that they have lots of natural light, that they're good working environments for the people who are going to be there day in and day out. And then there are other technical spaces such as detention, processing, and evidence. I know you need some work done in your evidence area, and this is an example of one that we did in another project where we have a processing area where the officers can come in and they can process all their evidence, put it into the bags, tag it, fill out all their paperwork, and then put it into the pass-through lockers that go into the evidence room, where the evidence officer can do the final processing and securing of them and cataloging of them for the future. And Janet, you want to take this over?
So I'm going to talk about what we've done for you on our study, what we were asked to review the existing facility, evaluate safety and operational aspects, evaluate the current and future needs, and then develop a plan to meet those needs. As you all know, the building was renovated, and the addition was done in 2003, so it's a relatively young building for work, and so it's about 17 years old, although the police station building is from 1950, so it's a much older structure. The top row shows some of the issues that you know about, the challenges of the Sally Port, the lobby that doesn't have a really central meet and greet function, some of the infrastructure issues, the dispatch center on the upper level, noise issues, the location being a prime issue, the training room, roll call room where they do some tactical stuff that is rather small, really hard to work out of. And then there's the exterior issues that we're dealing with. The fire department does have some issues at their slab and where they exit the building onto their apron. You have mechanical spaces up on a roof over top of very sensitive mechanical spaces below. And then the possibility of where we would do the addition to the left of the main entry and to the rear of the building where the Sally Port is. Next slide. So what we did was we did a standard process for programming. We met with the PD and FD personnel. We did questionnaires. We did walkthrough. We had programming sessions. We developed square footage totals to help everybody understand what they had and what they might need, what they were short of. We do this sort of site blind. So, we ask questions so we don't try to evaluate exactly what they have and compare it. We want to look at what does a modern public safety facility look like, and then we can compare that to what they have, and that's the process we used. From the police department side, we had spaces that met the needs. We had spaces that were undersized, and we had spaces that were lacking or not well located. They had some significant areas of concern: office and storage space, employee support space, all the mechanical, electrical, ventilation systems, and in the garage, there were issues with the column placement, as well as at the Sally Port and impound bay size. So there were problems from the police department throughout the structure. The fire department, we also did not as extensive study, but we certainly looked at that space as well. We looked to make sure, and the reality was most of their spaces were adequate in all areas, including administration administration staff support, the apparatus bay, and the related spaces. That didn't mean they didn't have areas of concern. Their concerns were mechanical, electrical, and ventilation systems, their slab at the garage doors, and their apron, long-term document storage. We know that there was some leaking at one point. We don't know if any of that's resolved on the apparatus slab, and led to some staining and rusting of beams in the parking area below. So that was done. Then after that, we did building assessment, architectural, we had our structural engineers in, mechanical, electrical, fire protection, and plumbing engineers, all assessed the building to determine what they thought. And some of the assessments came out, next slide, really the architectural, all about the building envelope. But the structural was very important because we knew we were short of space and we were looking to figure out what we could do about that. So they did a pretty exhaustive research and looking to see if you could go up in the building. Could we be in the space up the roof? Could we add on to above the sally ports? Could we build mezzanines in the apparatus space? We looked at all of those. And unfortunately, the way the building was designed, it really suggested that independent horizontal building additions were the most efficient ways of attaining additional space. Everything else, the challenges of that were extraordinary. We also looked at removing or reshaping the columns in the garage to improve the parking configurations. But again, that proved exceedingly costly to the project. And so that was not moved ahead on. So we did a pretty extensive structural report. And then the other ones we did were mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. That would be the next slide, Amy. And basically, you've got good guts in the building for electrical, plumbing, and sprinkler systems. There could be improvements, most certainly, in the electrical department, but it's just at the midpoint of its expected serviceable life. But you can certainly reduce energy, LED fixtures, things like that. Plumbing was in fairly good condition. They meet code requirements. And the system has capacity, the sprinkler system has capacity to be modified and expanded. The big one is the HVAC system. You are already at the end of its expected service life. And it is the where we solve the most problems with maintaining the proper heating, cooling. You can see it in the 911 area. They've had to add little split systems to keep the building or the individual spaces functioning well. So we know that that is a big issue. Next. What we did through programming, and you probably all know this, but I'm going to go through it quickly. What the challenges in the lobby is. The entry sequence does not really work for either departments. There is a records officer there sometimes, and they do firearms work there, but there's no meter and greeter there 24/7, as in most public safety facilities. To get to the fire department, you have to know to go to the end of the hall, enter a door, and go down the hall to get to that office. So people that need immediate help, people that are coming to the police department and the fire department for immediate help, oftentimes have to go and pick up a telephone and call someone. Not a very good situation. I was at many meetings in this building and can't tell you how many times I personally witnessed people being interviewed in the hallway or in the lobby with other police officers, fire personnel. And it was just, I felt like I was invading their privacy. So I know that it's a bit of a challenge. On the next slide, you'll see that the details of what's on that lower level. The police department is actually on 6 different levels of this building. So they list, the floors do not line up. The addition does not line up with the existing building. But in the lower level, they are pretty jammed in. Small rooms that were originally planned for armory and arms storage are now occupied personnel. Those are the green shaded areas. Most of the rooms are essentially undersized, especially in the roll call and the lunch rooms and the locker rooms. So there's a problem with generally all those spaces. The next slide shows you the problems in the second floor are the dispatch location, the officer in charge location is remote from the public and doesn't meet, so therefore doesn't really meet the needs of the current community. And their one green conference room is the only conference room for the entire police department. It's rather small. It's got a lot of furniture inside to store records and have a meeting room. So it's rather small, and there's no room for expansion in any of these spaces as it exists. On the third level, it works pretty well for the detectives. The big problem is where the evidence is. The evidence could be larger and it could be better located. The one thing about evidence is all about chain of custody. Where does the police officer enter the building with evidence? What does that person do with that evidence, so that the whole process of moving it from collecting that evidence to being it tagged, bagged in a secure area. And this particular evidence is on the top floor, very far away from where any of the police officers enter the building, where they enter the vehicles, or where they enter the Sally Port locations. Next, Amy. And then in the detention area in the rear, the Sally Port is rather small. There's a column, there's columns in the corners which create problems. They have no separate impound bays. There's just simply too little building there to support the current needs. There's also an armory that's not well secured. There's a door from the Sally Port into the armory, not such a good idea. And then the 911 spaces and the systems are not in the right locations. And of course, right above those is all the mechanical spaces on the roof. So here's your existing floor plan. You know what the building is. It has underground parking, and it's on a hill. And there's underground parking underneath the main floor on the upside of the hill. On the lower side of the building is the entry and the community room. The police department is to the left, but on a different level. So that core space with the stairs and elevator is quite complicated. Elevators to get you to each of the floors, and stairs that move you up and down to traverse those 6 levels. So what we proposed is to add to the building, to move the entry, to add to the front of the building, and to reorganize the sequence. Next slide. So what we did was we moved the entry to the right, closer to the fire department, and we created a common lobby space. And off that common lobby space are all the functions of the department, which include the dispatch, the records officers, and then the administration area and the meter greeter for the fire department. So now, instead of coming into a long hallway, trying to find a telephone or the door that leads to the fire department, you will have all of those spaces off one major space, as well as the community room stays. We looked at a lot of different options of how to do this, and at least a half dozen that we discussed and worked with, and this was the best one for the town and how they wanted to operate in the future. The addition on the front of the building on that lowest level now becomes evidence. Underground, not taking prime space, and everything that you see that's sort of outlined in yellow and the teal color is all kind of future space. We're modifying the program, but we were also making sure that we had enough space for the future. So there's work on that level throughout the police department as well. The next slide is the second level up, and this is the level where the apparatus are. You can tell that the apparatus, if people don't know that, but the apparatus floor is above the community room that you probably all met in, and it goes out underneath that big apparatus bay. The Sally Port is up on the upper left with the double arrows. That's where the apparatus come in and out. And so that's the plan above parking and above the first floor. What we proposed to do here was do that same addition in the front of the building and pop out which is right there again, thanks Amy, and pop out the rear where the Sally Port is. Unfortunately, we can't go wider there, but we can get some depth to it. And by doing that, it allows at least the doors to be closed when they're transporting a person who's been detained. We are taking a couple cells and turning them, extra cell or so, and turning it into more storage rooms, and separating the two impound and the Sally Port, and so that they can actually process a vehicle in there if they need to. And the details of that on the next are the same addition. In this particular case, we're moving the detectives from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor, and we're creating a new small group of family services, clinician and future family services. So instead of being in the basement in closets, they now have full office space with windows. They can continue to meet with people either in an area on the 1st floor that's a bit more secure or on the upper level. We also moved the roll call room and the lunchroom from the basement up onto this upper level, and created a better size for each of those rooms and a better location, more directly related to their operations. And this is the rear area in the back where we're adding on, picking up the storage, picking up that additional area for the Sally Port and the impound bay, to work on the armory. And of course, anything we do to these buildings will include the tel data rooms, the 911 rooms, all the mechanical rooms as well, which are all in this portion of the building. And then the 3rd floor, again, not a tremendous amount of work. Again, in the next slide, it'll show you that it has the same addition in the front, and a really reorganization of the spaces. And the next slide, it's like this larger scale, shows this becomes the police administration spaces. So we're moving them from the front door of the building up to a more appropriate place on the upper level, and creating an adequate conference rooms. We're creating a sergeant's office, and we have a little bit of space for some future offices. And what we all know is police departments change regularly, how they operate, their requirements, that their change room as new programs come in, and this provides a little bit of extra space for them to provide for that. And then finally, what we would do going forward, we would obviously be working with the OPM to establish a schedule and a process going forward. There are things that we did not do that weren't necessary in the study. We did complete a survey because we didn't know what we were going to do. We did know geotechnical engineering for where the additions would go. We'd also want to confirm the program and the expectations of the projects. A couple of years have passed and things change, just like what we talked about. So we would be relooking at that and making sure that we had everything we needed. We would confirm the budget to make sure that the budget remains on track with the expenditures expected. And then we would begin the final design and construction document process and any permitting as required. And that's our presentation. So.
Thank you, Janet.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions to HKT at this time?
Joe, I have a question.
Yep, Chief, go ahead.
Actually, a couple questions. On the first floor plans next to evidence, the new evidence area.
Yep.
There's a small hallway, says evidence processing.
Right.
Is that on the diagram? Is that like a small work counter like you had in that photograph from one of the police stations you did?
Yes, it is. So that you would have a good place to, however you do it in your department, but that's the area we create them. They're custom for each police department, how they want to do it, but that's what we were planning to do there.
Okay, I like that. You're familiar with the building. So my next question would be, you're familiar with where the firearms licensing is off of the lobby?
Off the lobby.
It's just open space up above all the way to the roof where there's a sunlight.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it possible structurally to make off the 2nd and 3rd floor to make those into storage closets above that licensing office?
I believe you could, but the challenge of that is you can't have a storage space off of an egress stair. So we would look at it and to see how we could gain any space from there. And so we'd have to look at that. I think we started to look at it in the study. It was quite complicated, but we'd look at that again and see if there's any way that we could capture that space, because we realize it's pretty useless space there.
It is, yeah. I'd really like to look at it because it is a waste of space.
Yeah, we can look at that again.
Also with the new design, when you look at the records office on the first floor, something we have to consider is there are windows there that would look into the records office.
Right.
We have to consider replacing those regular windows with some type of bulletproof glass.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because there'll be officer workstations right there, right through those windows.
Right, right. So we've had a lot of first floor spaces. The people that work in those spaces certainly appreciate the natural light. In our Charlestown police station, I mean, we dealt with how to get some natural light in, and so that people would still have the sense of seeing the trees, sort of thing, and provide that security level. So we can look at that and replace them with that.
And the same thing with the window on the inside of the lobby that looks into records. Now I know that the firearms licensing office has the cork board over the windows right now.
Mm-hmm.
That window's bulletproof. I don't know if we can reuse that window somehow, recycle it. That might be an idea.
It's possible. We'll be definitely we're assuming both of those windows would have the same sort of the window that we showed in that one project where it had a pass through, it had a communications microphone system so everybody could be heard, no matter what age. So, and then if we can reuse something, we'd certainly look into that. We definitely repurpose if possible. And then obviously we can determine whether, however we refurbish the lobby, does it look right? Does it match everything as you do the lobby? So, but yeah, we'll definitely look at anything we can reuse. We recognize every penny is important. So,
okay.
And those are not cheap windows.
So we have some other members of the department on this meeting. We have Sergeant McCall, and he's here because he's in charge of records and evidence.
Yep.
So he may have a question for you. Same thing with Sergeant Donano. He's in charge of the detective unit, so he may have some questions about the design of the detective area.
Sure.
Amy Rando is in charge of family services. I think she's okay with the way that's designed, but if she has any issues, I encourage her to speak up. And I know Chief Sullivan from the fire department, he wanted to bring up a few items. And we also have Joe Conway and Chris Pierce on from the DPW, and I think they have some questions about the mechanical structure of the design.
Yeah, so Chief, if I can.
Yep.
This is Chip Tarbell talking.
Hi, Chip.
How are you, Chief? Although you have all great points, we haven't even selected HKT to continue yet.
Okay.
So all the points you're bringing up will certainly be addressed and talked about. I don't know that tonight's the right platform.
Okay.
What we were trying to do was introduce HKT, the work that they had done, so that later tonight we could let people talk about it and decide if we wanted to continue with them.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Thank
So, and then we'll get the working group together and go through all the plans inch by inch.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to answer anything, but
And don't worry, I'm not giving the chief my registration for my car.
Is there any other kind of general questions rather than specifics for HKT? Just we're happy to entertain those rather than more specific working out some of the details.
Right.
All right. Hearing none. Janet and Amy, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, and we'll be in contact.
Okay, thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
very
take
much.
care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay. Maybe I didn't make that clear when I said there was any questions, and I apologize for that. Those kind of things, Chief, and the other people, we're going to go over those things bit by bit if HKT is retained. And I'm going to go over now to Lynn Stapleton and people at Left Field.
Sure, does everybody know that we've retained Left Field now?
But we haven't approved the contract yet.
Right, so we might want to do that first.
That's what I'm going to do. Lynn?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us and considering our contract tonight. I have with me Shane Nolan, and Linda Laporto, and Jim Rogers, from the owner of Wakefield, is also here tonight too. We had provided a contract. We went through negotiations with Joe, and I think that we arrived at the price that you guys were expecting, and we revised the contract, and I think that's what's up for a vote tonight. I do have the contract if you want me to share it on the screen, but I'm not sure.
I hope everybody, I sent it to everyone. I hope everybody had a chance to take a look at it.
Did you send it to the advisory committee as well, Joe?
No, just to the members of the PBC.
Okay.
You say if there's any, you're asking for questions, Joe?
Yeah, are there any questions regarding the contract?
The only question I have is about the lump sum equal payments. If one of those phases goes longer or shorter into another based on that, how does that work with the lump sum payments being billed monthly?
We've divided the lump sum payments by the duration of the project. The only time we would come back to you and ask for additional fees is that if the total project goes significantly longer than we had outlined. And that was a discussion with Joe when we lowered our price, that we would stick to this schedule. However, I will say, I mean, we've never been one to nickel and dime you. We do what it takes to get the job done. But if the project does go a significant amount longer, we could potentially come back and ask for additional fee.
I think especially where
It's just
concerned where you
Yeah,
have a representative on site during the construction. That might be the biggest area that I had a concern.
Right. That's where during construction the bulk of our costs are, is with our full-time on-site representative. And if we have to keep them on site longer than that, that's where we may come back to you. And that's why we talked about what the duration of the construction should be. And that's how we tailored the fee.
Okay, it just caught my eye because the closeout date is about a year and a half. You know, it's considerably closer to now, which is great compared to what your proposal originally had said. So I was wondering if there was just different thinking between the proposal and then this, and how that would affect any billing if by chance it did go longer and you know, you were billing in lump sums.
The schedule is a little bit longer because we had anticipated a full designer procurement phase, which I think we'll talk about in a few minutes. But also in that there would be cost savings if we didn't go to a full designer procurement for a new designer, and also cost savings on getting the project going. You know, if you were to continue with HKT, you have a good head start on the project, and we think that the design timeframe would be significantly less. And again, also depending on what your construction delivery method is, if you went design bid build versus CM at risk, you could also have some potential there to kind of shave some of the construction timeframe down.
Okay, thanks for explaining that.
Thanks, Phil. Any other questions regarding the contract?
So, Joe, my only, I mean, Lynn just brought up a good point. What I was going to mention about this, some language in there about the different methods of how you deliver this project. But being that we're trying to do this while the stations are occupied, I mean, I think that the CM at risk method, which I know that you're a fan of, is probably the way to go for this project, because there's going to be all kinds of temporary conditions that you have to sort of deal with to do this with an occupied space.
Couldn't agree with you more, Jerry.
We can talk about that more as well.
Yeah, we should be talking about that after we approve or not approve your contract, Lynn.
Right.
So to that end, if there are no more questions, I move that we allow Joe to sign the contract that he negotiated with Left Field for the sum of $380,000 for the public safety building, OPM work.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Chip, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Any other voting member appeared? I see none.
All right, Lynn, why aren't you done yet?
Well, unanimous.
Great, great. Well, I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about is your designer procurement options. I took a look at your RFS and your what you had actually advertised, and it gave the owner the right to, if the project was approved and there was adequate funding, it allowed the owner to extend the contract between the owner and the designer to include extended basic services of design, development, construction documents, bidding, award of the construction contract, and construction administration. So you have that option based on how the designer RFS for the feasibility study and the schematic design was originally advertised. Your second option would be to start all over, put out and advertise a new designer or request for services, go through that public procurement, advertising, qualifications, interviews, that whole process, which generally based on the timeline of advertising and going through the process could be up to a month and a half to 2 months. So if you felt comfortable with HKT and wanted to move forward, you have that right. If you would prefer to start over with a new designer, we would have to go through the whole public procurement process.
Thank you, Lynn. Just to start it out, I feel very comfortable with them. Not only comfortable with them, I think we've explored the options on not one occasion, but on 2 occasions with that reassessment committee. From a design point of view, I just don't see what more could be done. But I'm open to any other opposing views for sure.
Joe, I guess I'd just like to ask the chiefs and any of the people on the advisory committee how they felt about the process, and are they comfortable moving forward? Because they're the users. We can do whatever they want, kind of. I agree with you that I think we've thoroughly, to go backwards doesn't make a lot of sense. But I'd just like to hear from the chiefs and anybody else they have, how comfortable they were working with HKT and what do they think?
Chip, I'm good with HKT. I think they've been, they were thorough, made a nice presentation. And when you consider the footprint of the area that we have to work with, it's not like I don't think another architectural firm could come in and create some brand new scheme that we've never seen before. The footprint's very small. The only area we have to work with is that 15-foot area out front. So I don't know that anybody else could do anything different. They listened to everything we had to say. They took the existing interior of the building and redesigned it the way we asked. So I'm satisfied. I'll let the others, cast their opinion, but I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm also fine with it for the same reasons that Chief Scory outlined. I think we'd be going backwards if we did anything else.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody else?
Deputy Calabrese has been in this since day one.
Yeah,
Cal,
you want to jump right in here. Oh, what's going on, Greg?
I have no issues with HKT.
Okay.
I thought they were thorough and they listened, and like everyone's already said, the footprint is what it is. So I think unless we had more outdoor space for someone to come up with a different idea. I don't think there's much more. The only area I thought HKT could have done a better job is when we got to public, demonstrations and trying to explain things. I thought that was the only area I thought I was hoping for a little bit more, but we're past that point now. But in terms of design and everything, and listening to us and coming up with ideas, I didn't have any issues.
Thanks, Greg.
I think it saves you a good bit of money and time, which I think will be helpful to you.
Any other member of the committee? Voting or non? All right, Chip.
So Lynn, what do we need, what sort of motion do you need?
I think you should take a vote to extend HKT's existing contract, and then I can put together the paperwork for a contract amendment to that contract.
Okay. So that being said, I move that we extend HKT's contract to include design and construction.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Jared. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Tom?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Janine?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm as yes as well. That's unanimous.
Lynn, do you jump in and negotiate the contract with them?
Yes, I can do that. I need a copy of the original contract. If you could get that to me, that'd be good.
I will. I got it. I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. I put together a budget, but I also put together the budget based on very little information. So I was hoping that maybe we could have a working group meeting on the budget itself. I based it on a $9 million budget, but I'm not exactly sure what your budget is. And I will say that after I think we're just slightly under that 9 million mark because of our revised contract amount. So.
Joe, do you remember exactly what town meeting approved?
9.6.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because I did want to go through the various budget lines and budget categories to kind of, I think that this might be worthwhile to have a working group with both HKT and members of the Permanent Building Committee.
Okay.
So that we can kind of structure this budget appropriately.
I was thinking as far as liaisons with the working group, I wanted to get people's views on that. Specifically, I know that Mark, you were involved, Phil was involved, and Jason, and wanted to see if you three would volunteer. And Jason's not here right now, so I'll volunteer for him.
You know he'll say yes.
I know he'll say yes, but I'll volunteer for him anyway. If Mark and Phil, if you would be willing to work as liaisons with the working group for the Public Safety Advisory Committee.
I would definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Phil, is it something
Yes.
you'd be able to do?
Yeah, I could.
Great. And I'll talk to Jason. I know sometimes he travels and he's out of state, so that might be the occasion.
But with Zoom, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Let's hope he's
until we get out of Zooming.
So I'll talk to them. So that would make sense. I think as far as the budget goes, I'd like to just keep it. Chip, maybe you and I can meet with Lynn and just start some of the budget talk.
I do think, Joe, though, that Chief Scory should either, I don't know if it's going to be himself or somebody else. There should be a couple people from that group as well that's involved in all of the conversations.
With the budget as well?
Yeah, they
Okay.
should be aware of what's happening. I don't think we need the whole advisory. That's more to design and whatnot, but But I do think my humble opinion, Joe, would be that somebody, I don't know, Chief, are you gonna run point or are you gonna have somebody else?
I'll sit in on that.
Okay.
I have no
I
problem with
think that'll be important to kind of get us off on the right start, a good start. And I think that it would be worthwhile to bring somebody from HKT on too, because I kind of looked at their budget, did some escalation on that, and kind of looked at their feasibility study report to try to figure out if the budget I put together was appropriate or not. And I think it would be good to review with all of you my assumptions and then get HKT's input as well as this committee's input.
All right, we'll figure out some of the dates for that. Then
Well, the first thing that Lynn has to do is sign up HKT.
Yes, we'll do
Right.
that.
Well, and we'll be talking Lynn with that.
Yeah, you and she can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we know you'll get them down from whatever they want.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, as Lynn knows.
He's a tough negotiator.
Just tell it like it is. That's all it is. Oh, okay. I know you wanted to send me some kind of agenda item to put but you know.
Well,
Lynn,
no, I had put together,
lawyer.
yeah, I had put together an agenda, but basically you guys have all gone through that.
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next month, just so you kind of get a look ahead. And I didn't know how much you wanted to get into design bid build versus CM at risk. I kind of think I do have a little presentation on that, but I kind of think it might be a good idea to save that till a later date. It's not a decision that needs to be made.
I also think it might be advantageous to have HKT involved as well.
Right. That was my thought. And I think I can put together a packet to send out to the group so that they can take a look at in advance. And again, like I said, it might be a little premature at this point. I know we talked about discussing it, but I think if we put
Lynn,
that
for those that have not been involved in any of the conversations and right now don't even know what we're talking about, can you give a 30-second overview of what,
yes,
at risk versus the other is?
right. So with the general contractor, or what we call design bid build, you basically wait until the entire set of contract documents are complete and you put it out to bid, and you're sort of at the mercy of whatever the low bid is on the project. With a construction manager or management at risk project, which we call CMR, you are able to bring the construction manager on during the design process and have them part of the design process, have them know a little bit about the project as it's being developed. And also all the estimating on the project is done by the construction manager, so that they have real understanding of the project and actually buy-in on the actual construction cost. It also allows you to do earlier packages to get projects going sooner. Say, for example, you wanted to do a quick phase of the project as an early package, such as moving the dispatch downstairs right off the bat. You can sort of design your own bid packages as you go along to get projects going a little sooner while design is continuing to be completed. That's kind of an overview of the two. I mean, they both have advantages and disadvantages, and I'll send out a packet on that for people to take a look at. But in general, I think what we really find that overall, it's usually better schedule performance and better quality outcomes with a CM as opposed to a general contractor. And if it's, I would say that CM at risk project usually comes in with a higher initial cost. However, if you're able to accelerate the job, you can kind of offset those higher initial costs by, accelerating the project and finishing sooner. So in the end, you can kind of offset the higher cost of a CM. But the benefits that you have is that they're working with you through design. They help with constructability, biddability of the project. But also with a project like this, where you have a lot of phases, a lot of interaction with the owners that are going to be in an occupied building, you have somebody that's more of an advocate for the owner throughout the process, someone you can go to if you have problems. They're more conducive to working with you to make sure that the construction goes smoothly, as opposed to, doing this type of project with a general contractor that is bidding it straight off of construction documents. It may not, be privy to, why you're doing things a certain way. It makes the process go a lot smoother, I think, having the CM involved throughout the design process and gets to know everybody on the team. And also the police and fire department will have somebody to go to that they already have a good relationship with, through the design process.
That was a pretty unbiased approach. But
Well,
for those that have been involved, Galvin was a CM at risk. Remember, we had the most unbelievable super in the world on that, but
well, we don't have to go there.
But to that end, Galvin went for whatever million it was, went extremely smoothly. We were traditional with Walton, and I don't think I need to say any more on that. So Joe and I certainly have a preference again, I think you hear a lot about the building having to stay open and running, and I just don't see it happening without it. And Lynn, my question would be, is there a dollar value now? I thought projects under 10 million couldn't go CM at risk.
5 million.
5 million. That's why Walton, we couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, the smaller
It's not big
projects,
enough to get somebody
not big enough
involved.
to, and this one still may be small, at the point where, you may not get a lot of interest
Yeah,
in it.
but there's no work out there, so.
But I
I'm
will
gonna say,
say,
you'd be surprised right now.
What?
You'd be surprised right now.
Is it starting to pop again?
No,
well, I
it's
think the
saying the other
economy,
way around. It's people are looking for work.
Good.
so I think this one may be more attractive. I mean, I just, I probably am a little biased as well. Just having, I think that we can make a design bid bill work, but in an occupied building, and especially as one as highly sensitive as a police station and a fire station, I think that you're going to really see the benefit of having a CM as opposed to a general contractor.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Lynn? So it looks like Lynn, you'll put together, I'll get you the prior contract. And we'll put together some addendum. We'll work with HKT on negotiate a contract with them. And start the ball rolling. Do you think it would be reasonable that we could pull that off in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
And is it a basic AIA, Lynn? With them?
Well, we always have, the town has some changes because.
No, but I mean, we start with the basic AIA and then amend it.
That's what we did before.
Yeah.
With the Galvin as well, as I recall.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that.
But not the AIA for construction this time.
No.
Well, not one part at least.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we do have a more stringent contract that actually is based on DCAM's contract. And I think that it has a little bit more beef to it than the AAA contract we used on the Walton.
Yeah. All right.
So we'll do that. And when is this next meeting of the PBC?
Well, I'm looking for 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
That is the 19th. That's not Thanksgiving, is it?
I think that's the week after.
The week after, okay. Nobody's gonna be able to do anything anyway, so I mean, the rate we're going. Yeah, so the 19th, 7 o'clock. If for any reason there's, because I think that maybe Greenwood, the roof project, I'm gonna see if they're gonna be able to negotiate with them and get that done by then. And Joe's gonna send me the date for the DPW garage. And we'll also know, and we can start thinking about and talking about as well, the feasibility study for the high school should Saturday's motion on Article 3 pass. All right. Does anybody have anything else? Hearing none.
So if Article 3 passes, Joe, just the next step would be then to go out for the OPM.
Correct. We've got to do it all over again.
Yep.
We've danced that one before.
Yeah. Okay, but that's for other people to know what the next step is.
All right. Anybody else? If not, I'll love to hear a motion
I move that we adjourn.
and approve it by just clicking off. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Welcome back, Lynn.
Bye.